Hi, second grade students. Today starts Knowledge 3, our study of the ancient Greek civilization. Our first story today is from Lesson 1 called The Ancient Greeks. Before we begin our read aloud, we're going to go over our vocabulary words. Our first vocabulary word for the story is the word boundaries. Repeat after me. Boundaries. Boundaries are edges, real or imaginary lines that form a border. Our next word is independently. Say independently. Independently means on your own or free from the control of other people or things. And our last vocabulary word is unique. Say unique. Unique means special or to be the only one of its kind. About 2,800 years ago, there lived a civilization of people called the ancient Greeks. Today, part of the area where this ancient civilization lived is called Greece. Long ago, however, the ancient Greeks lived on a much larger area of land. The boundaries or edges of ancient Greece spread widely to the east and the west, into many areas bordering on the Black Sea to the north and across hundreds of islands in the Mediterranean and Aegean seas. Expeditions or journeys by land and by ship allowed the ancient Greeks to travel as far west as present-day Britain and as far east as India. The ancient Greeks traveled to explore far-off lands and to also trade, or buy and sell goods with people from other areas. The ancient Greeks were similar to other ancient civilizations in some ways. They had writing systems, leaders and laws, religions, and different people to do different jobs. And all of these ancient civilizations, the Egyptians, Mesopotamians, Indians, Chinese, Egyptians, Mayan, Incan, Aztec, and Greeks, discovered ways to design and build magnificent structures or buildings that can still be seen today. You'll see pictures of some of these structures in another lesson. The ancient Greeks, however, were still different from other ancient civilizations in many important ways. Unlike the Egyptians and Mesopotamians, the Greeks did not develop around a great river, like the Nile in Egypt or the Tigris and the Euphrates near Babylon. Greek land was not as fertile as the land near those wide flooding rivers. Greek is a land of high, rugged mountains, and in many parts, farming for the ancient Greeks was a struggle. You're going to hear about one type of hardy tree, however, that the ancient Greeks were able to grow in abundance. In addition to being farmers, some Greeks were also shepherds who took care of sheep on the rugged land. Some Greeks built harbors near the Black, Aegean, and Mediterranean seas, and many became expert sailors and fishermen, using boats like the one in this image. The largest island in the Mediterranean Sea was known, and still is known, today as Crete. Because they were surrounded by water, the ancient Greeks on the island of Crete became especially skilled seafarers, a name for people such as fishermen and sailors who earn a living by working at sea. The high Greek mountains also made a difference in the way Greece was ruled. Because the mountains split Greece into lots of little valleys, it was difficult to move from place to place. Many Greeks stayed in one place and married people from the same community. Each city in each valley became its own little nation, which we refer today as a city-state. Each city-state had its own government and its own laws, which controlled the surrounding areas. All of the ancient Greek city-states shared the same language, although each city-state had different dialects or a slightly different way of speaking the language. Sometimes the Greeks had the same ideas of how to live their lives, but they did those things independently of one another. In fact, the ancient Greeks were highly competitive, and only in an emergency would they work together. After each emergency, each city-state would go back to being independent and minding its own business. People in each city-state thought of themselves less as united Greeks and more as citizens of their own particular city-state. The ancient Greeks looked at the world around them very differently from the other way that people from their time looked at things. For example, you're going to hear the story of how one city-state decided not to have a king anymore. Not only was this different from what other Greeks were doing, it was completely different from what the Mesopotamians and Egyptians had done before, and also from what the Aztec, Inca, and other civilizations would do in the future. You'll hear more about this later. For now, all I will say is that the Greeks had a unique or a special kind of way of seeing and thinking about things. We have a lot of exciting adventures ahead of us as we learn about the unique way the ancient Greeks lived and thought about things, and how their many contributions are a part of our lives today.